Welcome to a special episode of the Sencast. My name is Dale Pickles, Managing Director of B Squared and the host of the Sencast, a podcast for special educational needs and disability. This special episode is part of a series to celebrate the award winners from the 2024 Nasen Awards. And in this episode, my guest is Eugene Dwaah, who was highly commended in the Changemaker of the Year category, and this award was sponsored by us here at B Squared. Eugene is the CEO for Evolution Sports and Education, an alternative provision provider with a focus on sport to empower students and to give them confidence in their learning. Eugene has a diverse background working across education, community development and professional sports, and he uses his experience to really engage with the young people he works with. The Nasen Awards celebrate outstanding contributions to the education support of children and young people with SEND, and these annual awards recognise individuals, schools and organisations that demonstrate exceptional commitment to inclusive education and the advancement of SEND practices. Nasen is a charitable organisation that supports children and young people with SEND. And Nasen's goals include influencing government policy, providing information, training and resources to support practitioners, and contributing to the debate and affecting change to improve outcomes for children and young people. You will find links in the show notes to find out more about the work Nasen does, their CPD and their events. Now, let's get on with the podcast. In this week's show, Eugene Dwaah is here to discuss his work and why he was highly commended in the Changemaker of the Year category. Eugene was shortlisted because of the way in which he has transformed alternative provision in Barking and Dagenham, using his experience in education and professional football. By placing sports and holistic development at the forefront of his mission, he has transformed traditional education concepts. His commitment to addressing social inequality and youth violence has fostered a sense of belonging and empowerment for young people facing adversity. His health clinics and work with parents to connect them to essential support services has empowered students and families to navigate life's challenges and resilience and confidence. As a result, his work at Dagenham's Future Youth Zone has also had a huge impact on school attendance at the setting, reaching approximately 98%. Welcome to the show, Eugene.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. That's a lot of work involved there.
I've always been quite a busy person, so yes.
Congratulations on being highly commended in the Changemaker of the Year category. It was the only category where all the nominations on the night either won or were highly commended, so congratulations. And I'm going to start with the obvious question that I've asking everyone. What does this recognition mean to you?
I think it's not really about me. I think it's a recognition of the young people that we kind of work with. I think I wouldn't be recognised if it wasn't for the fact that the work we're doing is having impact. And we wouldn't have impact unless there was buy-in from those young people. So we've obviously created something that they find slightly different from what they experience in mainstream. Therefore, they're engaging. And the way we know they're engaging is that our attendance is unbelievably good. So they want to be with us. And I suppose if then someone recognises the fact that you're getting young people wanting to come and re-engage in education, they wish to reward you for that. I think it's fantastic. But really, it's not about me. It's about the young people and the staff. So I take it and I really enjoy the accolade, but it's really for my young people.
And it is. That's what I find. It is one of those things is you are the person who got the award, but it is a team effort, isn't it? It is.
Absolutely.
You had a belief, you want to do it this way. You've got the buy-in from your team and then you've got the buy-in from the children and young people you're working with.
Absolutely.
So I've been on your website. There's lots of football and other. What sports do you do?
I'm one of those young people that loved every sport. Funny enough, I'm a teacher, but I didn't like education. I think every single one of my teachers would be absolutely shocked at what I do now. I was the kid that wanted to get out into a world and earn money. And, my dream was to become a professional footballer. So I spent a lot of my time in English practicing my signature because I was going to be this famous professional footballer, for all the autographs. I was an absolute dreamer with a little bit of talent, so really, education has come quite late for me in terms of my interest in going into teaching. I come from a family of teachers, but on the football side, I was very fortunate that I had some talent and it was seen. And I had some fantastic mentors who helped me on my journey. And I managed to reach a point where people wanted to pay me to do something I enjoy doing. So that aspect was great. Then I came out of playing and went into football administration and what they call talent ID, which is identify young people who might have the potential to achieve what I achieved, which I really enjoyed. And that was fantastic. I worked for Chelsea and then nearly 10 years at Fulham doing that. So I met and I worked with some of the most talented current Premier League players. So I really enjoyed that. But I always had this calling to teach. My mum was a teacher, and I don't know why. People thought I was absolutely mad when I was leaving a Premier League club to go into teaching. I went into teaching and I found out I was okay at it, particularly working with challenging kids, as they call it. But I've called kids who mainstream is a bit of a struggle for them. And it helped with the kudos of playing football.
I bet.
Me in there in terms of the conversations I could have with the young people.
Yeah, I bet. And that's the thing. I think it might be when you were at that football, you were identifying young people who had something, but then you were just passing it on. And perhaps what you wanted to do is identify it and then maybe find out, can it be shaped? Can it be grown? Is there potential here? Which I think is what people love about education, seeing something and helping it grow.
Absolutely. And it's very difficult to see talent and potential when kids are never allowed to go on school trips because their behavior doesn't allow them to go on the reward system. They're never up getting certificates or rewards. There's no phone calls home hardly because they can never ever bridge that gap as such. So it's very hard to see the potential and talent within them unless you place them in an environment where that talent can shine. Being a teacher teaching 30 kids in a classroom and then being head of behaviour where I was dealing with 2,000 kids in a school. It's very difficult to deal with those kids who don't want to conform or find it difficult to conform in mainstream. And it was interesting. In my early years, I had a traumatic experience, which really, I think, led to this journey. So what happened for me was that at 15 years of age, I lost my mum to a car accident. And at 15, it was just before, and I'm old, so just before my O-levels. So you can imagine there's a massive traumatic experience for me. And at the time, I was doing very well in terms of my football. But for 2 years after that, I really struggled with life. I became disruptive and stuff that you would expect potentially. But I had two absolutely amazing teachers who are still my mentors today, who just, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to say those are the days when teachers were teachers because they didn't have as much marking to do and things like that. But in their own time, they will take me to training. I'll get extra tuition. These are amazing people, absolutely amazing people. And they really held my hand for nearly 2 years of my life, making sure that I stayed on the right journey. And then I played for a club called Princess Park. And my manager there was second in command of the Metropolitan Police. Sir John Newing, his name, he's passed away now. And as you can imagine, he's second in command of Metro. And he gave me such grounding in terms of the way he conducted himself, the support he gave me. So that's some really amazing adults in my life at traumatic periods in my life. And so when I went into Skinner's and I became head of behaviour and responsible for sort of involvement in exclusions and where we're sending our young people to, I went and would do some visits to make sure they're okay. And I was not happy with where we were sending them. And I knew that by excluding them from school, we were reducing some of their life chances. But I was compounding that by not sending them to necessarily appropriate alternative provision. So I'm one of them people, you're sitting at work, you think to yourself, well, if I ever get a chance to do this myself, I know exactly what I would do. And, one of them lucky people, I came out of education, I had an idea, and it just so that I met a head teacher, an executive head teacher called Jez Smith, who was retiring that year that I met him. And he was very, very much interested in exploring the development of my current provision. So you've got a retiring head teacher who's incredibly inclusive and someone who's going, I think I could do it better. And we put on a program which involved using my first passion, sport, to work with young people. But what was unique about our project, I think, was when I talked to head teachers about young people coming to do sport, I presume they thought, we're just going to be kicking the ball around and dossing, or I was trying to produce professional footballers. It wasn't. It was very much about education. So one of the key components was delivering industrially recognized qualifications So the young
Yeah.
people could select from a range of potential careers, whether it's physiotherapy, sports, journalism. But we would work with them to pass industrially recognised qualifications, as well as work with their personal development to get them work prepared or post-16 prepared, as well as core subjects which we knew they may struggle with. And then we worked at Youth Sports Trust on a program called My Personal Best, which was a unique literacy and numeracy program that allowed us to use sports vocabulary and situations to get young people engaged in numeracy and literacy, and they absolutely loved it. So we try to be quite innovative in how we re-engage them in those same said lessons that they would normally have hated in mainstream school. So these are the things that I'm really proud of, that we've managed to get young people passing qualifications, going to post-16 and thriving.
I'm listening to that. It is an amazing story. And sometimes it is bumping into the right person at the right time can really, really change things. But the biggest thing I've taken away, you do not look old enough to have O-levels. You're older than me, but look at the difference in white hair.
I'm actually a granddad of a 5-month-old. Yes. I'm very, very proud granddad of a 5-month-old. So, yeah.
In my head, I'm looking at you. I'm thinking he's in his 30s. And you're he's saying his numbers. I'm going, hang on. I know you've done that as well. And these numbers don't add up. Wow.
Thank you very much.
I need your morning healthcare regime. But I've done football coaching. I'm an FA level 1, and I really enjoyed it. And I completely understand that there is a lot going on in sport. You've got to be disciplined. Yeah, you've got to be dedicated. There's, especially like crossing a ball, there is a lot of maths going in there.
Absolutely.
Not precise maths,
Absolutely.
but time, just
Absolutely.
movement. There is a lot going on. Yes. There's a lot of taking it in, assessing the situation, working out. There are lots of skills. Just because it's not written down doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's right. Absolutely.
And I think it's helping those children to see that what they're doing are these things, and there are useful skills, and it's bringing the education to them, but also bringing them to the education and meeting them in a way they understand, that works for them, that interests them.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I think it would also work in mainstream. And let's be honest, if you ask any adult, what lessons have they, and what subjects and what particular parts of subjects have they taken into their adulthood? Really, and then we ask ourselves, what would we have wanted in school that would have aided us? And the thing I would have wanted to know is things about interest rates and credit cards.
Yes, I love searching those. What would you have loved to learn in school? Budgeting,
yeah,
and things like that. The life maths and things like that.
Absolutely. So what I've done is used them and said, look, they're struggling in mainstream school for a variety of reasons. How can I make education relevant to them? And is using their passion for this particular sport or sports and trying to use those vocabularies that they would hear on Match of the Day or whatever sport that they like, NBA or whatever, and they then recognize it and then linking that with maths, or reading a piece of a match program and looking at it in terms of literacy. It's so simple.
Because I think every newspaper every day has a sports section. Yeah. At weekends, you've got a whole sports section. It's like, instead of reading that, let's read that. Yeah. Can you understand it? Can you write it? Yeah. Just use their interest.
Absolutely.
And show them that, you need to be able to read so you can keep up with what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. You need to be able to do maths. So you can work out this. You can read your timetable. Can I get to the match? And it's just lining all of those things to actually see, I do need my maths and I need to be able to do that so I can do this.
Someone mentioned to me at football, when I was doing football, one of my coaches was Pat Rice, the famous Pat Rice, who retired from Arsenal, was Arsene Wenger's assistant. And he used to say something to the effect that simplicity is genius. So what I've tried to do, I love that. I just love that saying. So what I've tried to do is just keep everything simple, real simple, real down to the basics.
I like the acronym KISS.
Yes.
Which is keep it simple, stupid. Basically, simpler it is, the easier it is. The more you complicate it, you're complicating it for you, you complicate it for them. And it's like, generally, the simpler we keep it, the easier it is to understand.
Absolutely.
Which sounds kind of obvious. But it's like, if I've got to give you a sales pitch and it's going to take me an hour, or I can do it in 5
Yeah.
minutes. I want the 5 minutes version because
Exactly.
it's a simpler concept, which I can buy in and understand more, and I'm going to commit to more. Whereas if you're going to confuse me, I'm not in.
Absolutely.
So as an alternative provision, how many students have you worked with? How long have you been going? What are your numbers type thing?
I've been doing it in West London for quite a long time, but in East London, which is our sort of newest hub, which is the one that's been really recognised because we do quite innovative programs and working in quite a unique way with the local authority. For example, the space that we have is second to none. It's 8 charities have come together under the umbrella of an organisation called Onside. And these are purpose-built youth clubs that have the following in them: climbing wall, astroturf, full-size sports hall, music studio, instruments, boxing ring, salon, independent living space to learn cooking, a massive drama area where you can also do yoga and Tai Chi, a sensory room, a counsellor's room, a full-fledged gymnasium, a photography, a media room. It's an absolute godsend for a private school. It's amazing, and it's light, and it's welcoming, and it's inspiring. And when I went to do my research before setting up my provisions, most of the place I went to was a porta cabin in a concrete jungle, and the kids have been tucked away somewhere. And I'm going to be honest with you, and everyone who's involved in education, and particularly around pastoral, knows what I'm talking about. You know, it's not the most welcoming, inspiring spaces that we put our young people in who have the most challenges and the most difficulty. Well, in Barking and Dagenham, they've put them in a state-of-the-art building. So it changes the narrative. So when they come in, they're inspired. Their parents are like, what's going on here? And their parents themselves have fallen out of love and had difficulties potentially in education themselves. We have a ratio of 1 to 4. So we're probably better than most private schools. So when I'm having conversations with parents about, look at our facilities, look at the ratio of members of staff to your child, can you understand the amount of input we can have with your kid? People pay thousands of pounds for this kind of advantage. And your school has taken real care and attention to look what's appropriate for you, as opposed to the narrative I've been kicked out of school.
And that's the thing, it's not only have I been kicked out of school, I've been kicked out of school and I've gone to this porta cabin at the back of nowhere, which is run down. It's not nice. And I walk in there and it's not a nice place. And basically what I've learned out is that is the value of me, is I'm not worth it. You're sticking me, you're hiding me away, and no effort. That's what you're saying to them.
Absolutely.
Whereas what you're saying is, you are worth it. We are investing in you. We can make you successful. You buy into us because we've bought into you, and we're going to make a difference.
Absolutely. And it's about that second chance and the ability to reinvent yourself and the ability to select a pathway that's potentially better suited to your interest, your ability, and the potential career path that you wish to go down. So there's almost automatic interest in that. Don't get me wrong, it's some of the kids, it's very difficult for them to change habits they've started potentially in primary school. So we have our difficulties and so forth. But I think most teachers and educationists will turn around and say to you, if you can find that magic dust of interest with a young person, and you've got that time and dedication, you can re-engage them and you can get them thinking positively about their education and going forward.
It's especially when they don't believe in the education system, it's finding it and then sticking around for a while. Yeah, when they're throwing it at you, you remaining there and being there is like a test they want you to get through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't really care. You're just pretending you care.
Absolutely. And what's important from working in leadership roles in schools is the best schools I've worked with have a very low staff turnover.
Yes.
Right. So there's consistency. And what I'm trying to do, and the nature of our work is very difficult to get quality staff. And what I'm trying to do is have very little staff turnover. So it's familiarity, it's trust, they can build relationships. And I think that is also very important. So the selection of staff, the ability to keep those staff motivated is just as important to the young person, because a lot of them have had social services, teachers, youth workers coming in and out of their life. There's no stability. And therefore, they find it very difficult then to trust the process.
Definitely. And I think you also want someone relatable. You want someone who not only has been through the same journey, someone who can literally going, I hated school, but. And that's it. It's the but that comes after that.
Right.
That, yeah, I was there, but actually I did learn and I did stuff, and that's got me to do this. And it's helping them see that, not from someone who's very different talking at them, but somebody who has maybe walked a similar-ish path and can say, yeah, it's not great education. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. We have to do it. We have to get through it, but you do. But how's it going to help you? And it's those sorts of conversations to build those relationships are really important.
Absolutely. And the adults in their lives have to be relatable. And we give every child an induction before they join us. And I think it's quite important. I want them to feel a sense of importance. And I use a script which is called My Journey. And I'm very open. I'm quite vulnerable because I want to build that relationship, because it's a team. We're going to work as a team to get you through your education. And I tell them my experience. And what I see their reaction when I tell them my story is complete shock that actually you're not perfect and you have a story. You've had a difficulty. You can see they look at you. And so you're then able to say, whatever your difficulty is, I've been through the same. And so it's not, oh, look at me, I'm in a shirt and tie. It's before I was in a shirt and tie, I actually look like you, but obviously the fashion sense of the 70s kid. So I had the afro, believe it or not. Fantastic afro was, the flares.
Love it. I think that's the thing is, I think once you start having that difficulty in education, you think, I'm going to go nowhere, I'm going to achieve nothing. And you become that self-fulfilling prophecy. And you probably think that every time you see someone in a shirt and tie, you're going, oh, that's one of those kids who are great at school. You make up your own narrative.
Absolutely.
That why you're not good enough. And to be told by someone in a shirt and tie standing in front of you that, yeah, I've had a similar path. I didn't enjoy school. Or what? Actually, you can be a shirt and tie person if that is what you want to be. You can be what you want to be. Just don't give up. There's also, I think, with education, and I see it lots of people believe there's just one path.
Yes.
School, college, uni, come out, get a job.
Yeah.
That is just one path.
One path, absolutely. I mean, some of the best teachers I've met have gone through that path. But a lot of the most interesting teachers I met who are quite innovative have had incredibly interesting lives before teaching in all sorts of industries and roles. And you're like, how the hell did you end up being a teacher? And I think that lived-in experience is fantastic in terms of having a sense of humour, being able to deal with the kids' banter and give some back, as well as keep that professionalism about we're here to learn. And an interesting story for me was I was telling my story to a young person that was coming out of a school, and the head teacher of that school sat in that induction. And when we finished, he said to me, Eugene, can I tell you something? He says, your story's remarkable. I said, oh, thank you, sir. And he said to me, I come from a council estate in Blackburn, and I lost my dad at 14. I said, but you've got a really posh voice. He said, I've had to work at that. I was like, wow, I would have never known. So he's from a council estate in Blackburn. His actions changed through education and the environment he's been in. Lost his dad right at the same age as me, and ended up doing a highly successful job. Yet you would not know it to look at him.
But that's the thing. I think there is this sort of thing is you have to fit in that certain mold with the right accent and do this stuff. But you like, actually you being, it's one of the things that you being there might have got you there, but actually you being that authentic you, telling that child in front of you, if he maybe had that conversation with that student.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There might have been a different thing. We often do it. I really try not to. We call autism masking. But often we go into a job and we walk in the door, we put a mask on. Yeah. And sometimes it is better to not have that mask on and be you.
Yeah.
I do some social work on Monday, or not social work. I have youth club type thing. Yeah. Youth club work. And I just go there and have fun. I be me with a group of teenagers and we have loads of fun. But it is just being me and just showing them that, yeah, life can be fun. Life's hard. It's not, some have challenges, but by being you are opening, you are open to connections.
Very much so. And I think it's, for those young people, it's actually very important for them to realize they're still connected to the wider society, because they think that they're on the fringes and no one cares about them. And no one's ever experienced what they've experienced. You know, and I'm not lying, particularly in this current economic circumstances, that some of them are going through some serious challenges. That the schools alone are not going to be able to resolve. And I'm a realist, so I try and manage expectations. But for those 6 or 7 hours that they're with us, I think my job is to better equip them. And we all know that education, generally speaking, is the key, but to better equip them. So then when they do leave us, they've got a set of skills that have been either enhanced or been developed that will enable them to make good choices or better choices or give them choice. Do you know what I mean? And I think I'm realistic about where from point A to point B with each child. They're different and there's different starting points. So our success marking is also different in terms of each child.
So I think just, again, we talked about coming to your setting and your setting being an amazing place to be. So that makes them feel valued. But I think also having that induction, rather than going, oh, yeah, come in, you're going to join that class, and be almost like you drift in, actually going, right, you are here. This is who we are. You probably explain the rules, but probably not in a blunt, a dictatorship kind of way. It's probably more, let's meet together. These are the rules. We all kind of thing. And they probably don't get it at the beginning. And then after time, they see that actually it might be in my interest to follow these rules.
Yeah. It takes a while. Because I could present that they come in and they play footy and then they get all these qualifications. It's not as easy as that. Sometimes you're chasing them because they've come in 1 week and they've disappeared for 5 days and things like that. So our mentoring system is very, very important for us, that we link them with a member of staff that they can relate to is really important. Our home communication and contact is really important. How we try to promote that is a lot of the parents that we have had what they would consider bad experiences in school, either themselves and therefore it's been perpetuated right the way through, or they've just not got on with the school. And so what we try to do is we use photos and media to send messages home showing the parents how the kids' day's been. So any successes, we take photos, we send it by text and so forth. So they're getting lots of positive images of their kid acting. So the one time I have to phone them to say, Johnny failed to follow my instructions, I could tell the person going, Mr. Dwaah's always sending me positive stuff about you, yeah? So you must have done this. You need to fix up. So it's changing that has been really, really powerful in terms of engaging the parents. And then also what I saw in my previous life in mainstream school, the referral to alternative provision or to people was a paper pushing exercise. We can't keep him in mainstream. I'm going to fill in this referral form. It's going to go to the school that we're going to ask him to attend. They've got the paperwork. He goes in day one. They tell him what he can and cannot do. And or if they do it all, he sits the register and he goes in. What I'm trying to do is personalize it and make the child the center of everything. So I'm trying to say to them, we are spending a lot of time trying to talk to you as a young adult, talk to you with a lot of respect. So it's very difficult for you then to come back with me with anger and so forth. There's no shouting in our school, things like that. Everything's about, let's unpick what happened. Let's start from the beginning. Let's rewind situation. But then I will say, my mainstream colleagues say, well, you've got the time for that. And that's the uniqueness of a small setting. We're able to be a little bit more intense and intentional in how we're dealing with the young people going forward. The difficulty becomes if we have young people who are returning back to mainstream. So we have key stage 4 students at year 10 and year 11 who tend to stay with us and do their GCSEs through the whole program and other qualifications. But the key stage 3, the year 7s, 8s and 9s, tend to be doing what we call respite or recovery programs. So they're with us 6 to 12 weeks. And what we're trying to do is re-engage them back into education and look at some of the behaviors that got them into trouble. So what we can't do is spend too much time not being too different from mainstream. The idea is that they go back and are able to survive. So if I'm spending 20 minutes with you every day talking to you, Mr. Smith, English teacher, is not going to spend 20 minutes talking to you. He expects you to do it immediately. So it's about being realistic in terms of how we're working with them to better prepare them to survive in mainstream.
And that's the thing, you use the word survive in mainstream, because in reality, that's what they need to do. For some young people, it is survive secondary school.
Yes.
After that, life can be very different.
Yes.
But you do have to survive and ideally get a 4 in maths, get a 4 in English. If you've done that, you can turn your back on secondary school. You've got what you really needed. Now, for others, you might want 9s. But what we really want is to get through, survive. And I don't just mean survive as in literally alive. I mean, come out still as undamaged as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe thinking there is still a future for me. And that's what we're trying to get to. We want them going into school, being able to cope with it, being able to learn the bits they need so they get the fours, which is the bit that opens doors in the future.
Absolutely. And the word survival, some colleagues might think, why are we using that word? My explanation is that young people of today have grown up in an environment where we've encouraged them to question. We've encouraged them to be independent thinkers. So they're not going to respect you simply because you're older than them. They will question you about why, what, and how. And that becomes difficult in schools where a lot of the time outside of lessons, you're being marshaled around, your behavior is being monitored and so forth. And so for some young people, having authority where they don't have any at home, having discipline where they don't have any at home is a real problem for them. And their ability to learn, and I call it learn to play the game of life, that pretty much all of us, I've got a boss, mine's the wife, but I've got the boss. And you need to learn to navigate. And when I use that with a lot of the boys, I go, listen, you're going to have a boss. They're like, no, you're going to get married. You're going to have a boss, and learn to navigate that is also incredibly important.
That's the thing is school rules. Some of the school rules are made up. They are stupid rules. They are purely, if you're listening to me, some of the rules in schools are stupid. But the point is you have to learn to follow rules.
Yeah.
Whatever job you're going to go into, wherever you're going to go on a holiday, wherever you're going to spend your free time, everything has a rule and you've just got to learn to follow them. Yes, some of the ones in schools are stupid and you may question them, but the main thing is whether you agree with them or not, if you are there, you follow them, and how can you manage that within yourself?
Absolutely.
The thing is, on the football pitch, you don't argue with the ref.
That's right.
You may want to, but you've got to learn not to. And that's the rule.
It's interesting that same football scenarios work really well when the young people get into kind of physical altercation, where boy B will turn around and say to you, yeah, but he started it first, and you explain to him, well, in football, if someone kicked you and you leave it alone, the likelihood is the referee is going to yellow card or red card. But as soon as you retaliate, guess what's happening to you? They kind of get it. There's a lot of stuff that we use around that as well.
That's the thing, because you can watch it. You can watch match today. You're watching it, and you can see these things happen. You walk away. You watch everyone step. That's what you do. And it's really well modelled.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm going to wrap it up. Really enjoyed the conversation. Really enjoyed learning about the work you do. And I've looked on your website, and I'm literally going, wow, the building looks phenomenal. So it's interesting. I was wondering, you are like bolted onto a school, but no, that is like bespoke for those organisations,
Absolutely.
Which is amazing. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Eugene's given me some link to his website, and apparently there's a video which is on YouTube.
That's right.
So I'll be putting those in the show notes so you can find out more about all the work Eugene has and his team have done to help their young children in Barking and Dagenham. And you'll find the show notes on our website or wherever you listen to the podcast. So thank you for listening to the show. If you are listening to a platform that allows you to leave a review or give the podcast a rating, please get a little review or give it a 5-star rating and let others know what you think. And if you want to get in contact, let us know your thoughts, suggest topics or anything else, please message us via social media or send an email to hello@thesencast.com. The Nasen Awards, Eugene has won, the highly commended. The Nasen Awards are organised by Nasen, great naming. They celebrate outstanding contributions to the education support of children and young people with SEND. And these annual awards recognise individuals, schools and organisations that demonstrate exceptional commitment to inclusive education and the development of SEND practices. Nasen is a charitable organisation that supports children and young people with SEND. And Nasen's goals include influencing government policy, providing information, training and resources to support practitioners, and contributing to the debate and effective change to improve outcomes for children and young people. You'll find links in the show notes to find out more about the work Nasen does, their CPD and events. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Zencast. It is goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye, everyone.